Good afternoon and welcome to Spielberg and to a circuit that in one form or another has held every Austrian Grand Prix in the championship, except the very first back in 1964. It was at this race that John Watson lost a bet and his beard when he took Team Penske's only F1 victory in 1976. If anything, the stakes are even higher today, with 25 points available for victory and a crucial advantage in the championship fight. It's one of the shortest laps on the calendar today then, with 7 rights and just 3 lefts, making up the 10 corners of this high-speed circuit. Turn 2 is barely a corner at all. They'll be flat out through there, a left-hand kink into the uphill braking zone of Turn 3. Turns 1, 3 and 4 are all potential opportunities to overtake. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. De Jong lines up on pole position, and Yuki Tsunoda completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Norris, Nicholas Latifi and Verstappen, Ricciardo, Gasly, Mick Schumacher and Antonio Giovinazzi, Bottas, Ocon, George Russell and Stroll, Aitken, Matsushita, and Guan Yu Zhou and Felipe Drugovich, Mazepin and Callum Ilott. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today? A victory for Alfa Romeo. The team will certainly be celebrating tonight. Anthony, tell me, what was it that helped them achieve this success?
I really feel the track layout combined with the track temperatures we saw today suited their car. These cars come alive when the tyres are just at the right temperature, and the driver did a great job managing that as well. They just look so comfortable out there. It's like anything, it always looks so easy when it all just clicks.
So here they come now, out onto the podium. It's thrilling to see this team go toe-to-toe with the best teams in the sport and come out on top. What a superb victory from the Alfa Romeo team. Welcome along then to the North Sea coast and Zandvoort, 25 miles away from Amsterdam, and the host for today's Dutch Grand Prix. It's a race the great Jim Clark won on 4 occasions, leading for an astonishing total of 370 laps. A lap of this short 2.6 mile Zandvoort circuit features 14 corners, 10 to the right and 4 to the left. The main straight is 678 metres long and heads into Turn 1, the Tarzan corner. With DRS down the main straight into the braking zone, that could be the best overtaking opportunity on the track. Alongside me to discuss all the action today is Anthony Davidson. Thanks for joining us, Ant, and tell me, you were down in the pit lane earlier. How do you think the track conditions are today?
Well, it's looking a bit cold out there if I'm honest. These tyres have quite a narrow operating window in terms of the temperatures they need to extract the best grip. So with a cold track surface, it's going to be harder to keep those temperatures up, which will lead to lower grip and maybe more mistakes.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. De Jong lines up on pole position, edging out Lando Norris, who'll start from P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Verstappen, Daniel Ricciardo and Latifi, Bottas, Ocon, Gasly and Mick Schumacher, Giovinazzi, Russell, Lance Stroll and Zhou, Tsunoda, Aitken, Felipe Drugovich and Nikita Mazepin, Ilott and Nobuharu Matsushita. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. Welcome along then to the North Sea coast and Zandvoort, 25 miles away from Amsterdam, and the host for today's Dutch Grand Prix. It's a race the great Jim Clark won on 4 occasions, leading for an astonishing total of 370 laps. A lap of this short 2.6 mile Zandvoort circuit features 14 corners, 10 to the right and 4 to the left. The main straight is 678 metres long and heads into turn 1, the Tarzan corner. With DRS down the main straight into the braking zone, that could be the best overtaking opportunity on the track. Alongside me to discuss all the action today is Anthony Davidson. Thanks for joining us, Ant, and tell me, you were down in the pit lane earlier. How do you think the track conditions are today?
Well, it's looking a bit cold out there, if I'm honest. These tyres have quite a narrow operating window in terms of the temperatures they need to extract the best grip. So with a cold track surface, it's going to be harder to keep those temperatures up, which will lead to lower grip and maybe more mistakes.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. De Jong lines up on pole position, edging out Lando Norris, who'll start from P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Verstappen, Daniel Ricciardo and Latifi, Bottas, Ocon, Gasly and Mick Schumacher, Giovinazzi, Russell, Lance Stroll and Joe, Tsunoda, Aitken, Felipe Drugovich and Nikita Mazepin, Eilert and Nobuharu Matsushita. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. Many doubted whether they could pull off the win here in Zandvoort, but they have done, and done it in spectacular style. So Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we can talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those we witnessed today.
Alfa Romeo racing in the #1 spot on the podium today. A thrilling race and an excellent result for this team, who've never stopped fighting for that top step. We're back in Italy once again for another round of the Formula One World Championship. And what a great race is in store for us today here at the oldest circuit on the calendar. Monza hosted its first race all the way back in 1922. With top speeds reaching 215 miles per hour, only a few places can challenge Monza's crown as the fastest circuit in F1. Hard braking zones going into the 3 chicanes make up the majority of the 11 corners on this 3.6 mile circuit. And just in case the slipstream wasn't enough, 2 DRS zones will help encourage some closer action. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you with us here today. But I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
But from the moment qualifying's over, you start to feel the adrenaline in your body build up and the buzz in your stomach as you anticipate the run down into turn 1. It's all a bit like going into battle, and the unknown situation makes you nervous. Those pre-race nerves are a good thing. The day you don't have them means that you don't care anymore. And of course, you have to make sure that all the procedures are second nature to you, so that they're not taking up too much of your capacity.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. De Jong lines up on pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Latifi, Norris, Daniel Ricciardo and Verstappen, Bottas, Ocon, Mick Schumacher and Pierre Gasly, Giovinazzi, Russell, Yuki Tsunoda and Stroll, Matsushita, Joe, Jack Aitken and Nikita Mazepin, Eilert and Felipe Drugovich. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. There it is then, victory in the Italian Grand Prix, an historic race and an achievement they can be immensely proud of. Anthony Davidson, what helped them deliver this result, do you think?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
Alfa Romeo have been winning fans the world over with their brilliant driving, showing that they're a force to be reckoned with out there on the track. They'll certainly be building on that fan base after today's excellent result. Welcome one and all to today's Grand Prix here in southern Russia. A beautiful location besides the Black Sea and a race that has historically been dominated by the Silver Arrows. Mercedes have won here 6 times since the first race in 2014. Can someone else muscle in on that record here today? Situated just 3 miles from the Georgian border, the 3.6 miles Sochi Autodrome has 2 notable overtaking opportunities into turn 1 and then turn 13. 18 corners in total here, 12 to the right and 6 to the left, and it's an average lap speed of around 130 miles per hour. Anthony Davidson is here once again for today's Grand Prix. Let's talk about De Jong. That was a great win in the last race. Can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
There are never any guarantees in this business, but certainly the performance last time out would have boosted their confidence coming into this one.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. De Jong lines up on pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Ricciardo, Norris, Yuki Tsunoda, and Verstappen, Latifi, Mick Schumacher, Ocon, and Pierre Gasly, Bottas, Giovinazzi, Lance Stroll, and Joe, Aitken, Matsushita, Nikita Mazepin, and Felipe Drugovich, Russell and Callum Islet. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. Brilliant stuff from Alfa Romeo today. What a superb victory. Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
I think that smart tyre management on track and very smooth driving definitely assisted in their victory today. That combination meant they got the absolute maximum out of their tyres at all times.
Looks like they're on their way out to the podium now, and what a result this is! And a popular one with the crowd as well. Great stuff to see the Alfa Romeo team on top here today. Welcome once again then to the United States Grand Prix here in the magnificent city of Austin. It was here in 2018 that Kimi Räikkönen delighted the world by winning for the first time in 114 races. There's always a record to be broken, so what I wonder is in store for us today. We're racing today then in Travis County, Texas, where 20 corners and speeds of up to 200 miles an hour await us on this magnificent racetrack. It's 60% full throttle with plenty of good opportunities to pass, especially through the 2 DRS zones into turn 1 and at the end of the long back straight into turn 12. What a race we have in store today. With me today, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Let's talk about De Jong. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
They've been avoiding mistakes and have had solid pace, so it's been a good season so far, but whether they can keep that up long term remains to be seen.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. De Jong lines up on pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Tsunoda, Verstappen, Lando Norris, and Ricciardo, Latifi, Gasly, Mick Schumacher, and Valtteri Bottas, Russell, Giovinazzi, Esteban Ocon, and Stroll, Joe, Aitken, Nikita Mazepin, and Nobuharu Matsushita, Islet, and Felipe Drugovich. And now it's time to head down to the track. It's certainly been an incredible year for Formula One, and our drivers have all pushed themselves this season, making it one of the most compelling years of racing in history. There can only be one champion, however, and here they are now, our new Formula One World Drivers' Champion. Not just victory today then, but the championship as well. What a spectacular season they've had. Congratulations to the whole team. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
I'd say it was down once again to good, consistent driving, nailing the corners, working to the track conditions and perfecting the team's strategies. They got all of these things right today and the results speak for themselves.
So here they come now, out onto the podium. It's thrilling to see this team go toe-to-toe with the best teams in the sport and come out on top. What a superb victory from the Alfa Romeo team. Welcome along to the most populous city in North America and home now to the Mexico City Grand Prix. It's a sellout crowd as usual here at one of the shortest circuits on the Formula One calendar. So who, I wonder, will the crowd cheer on today to the top step of the podium? At 2,285 metres above sea level, the thin air of the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez poses a unique challenge, not just to a driver's skill, but to the efficiency of their engines as well. 17 corners make up a lap of this 2.6-mile circuit, and you can expect incredible speeds in excess of 220 miles per hour, and overtaking too into the hard braking zones of turns 1 and turn 4. A warm welcome to Anthony Davidson, who's beside me in the commentary box today. Let's talk about De Jong. What a season they've had. A well-deserved championship victory, and the pressure now surely off with the title already in the bag.
It really is well deserved. I wouldn't say it's been a faultless title challenge, but certainly one that has been consistent and well managed. Here's hoping they let off a bit of steam today and give us an exciting race.
De Jong lines up on pole position, and Yuki Tsunoda completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Latifi, Leclerc, Daniel Ricciardo and Verstappen, Gasly, Norris, Ocon and Mick Schumacher, Bottas, Giovinazzi, George Russell and Stroll, Matsushita, Aitken and Guan Yu Zhou and Nikita Mazepin, Drugovich and Callum Ilott. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head to trackside for today's race. That's a spectacular victory then, and with it, the championship is secure. It's been a magnificent season, and they thoroughly deserve the cheers of the crowd here today. Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
Well, this was a real team victory. They put together a solid strategy today that appeared well suited to the conditions out on track. The driver did everything that was expected of them in the moment to really execute the team's plan to perfection, a shining example of how F1 really is a team sport.
Alfa Romeo racing in the #1 spot on the podium today. A thrilling race and an excellent result for this team, who've never stopped fighting for that top step. Formula One returns to Sao Paulo once again with the stage set for what promises to be another classic Brazilian Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel famously clinched his third championship here in 2012, and in 2016, Max Verstappen treated us to one of the finest wet weather drives of all time. It's an unusual anti-clockwise race here at Interlagos, where the Sao Paulo locals are packed into the grandstands at each of the 15 corners around this classic 2.7-mile circuit. Two very fast sections bookend the famous and highly technical Sector 2, where getting a good run out of Junsao into one of the two DRS zones will be the key to any overtaking prospects today. And as always, a man with plenty of racing experience joins me in the commentary box. Today it's Anthony Davidson. Tell me, Ant, you're no stranger to surviving the melee of Turn 1, so how do you keep out of trouble when there's so much going on around you?
There are three main things to worry about there, Crofty: positioning, awareness and discipline. First, you have to put your car in a bit of space and make sure you have room to react to what the others are doing. Then you have to watch your mirrors and listen to the sounds around you to get a sense of where everyone is. And finally, just don't get too greedy. Just because a gap exists doesn't always mean you should go for it.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. De Jong lines up on pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Norris, Daniel Ricciardo, and Tsunoda, Gasly, Latifi, Mick Schumacher, and Esteban Ocon, Bottas, Giovinazzi, George Russell, and Stroll, Joe, Matsushita, Jack Aitken, and Felipe Drugovich, Eilert, and Nikita Mazepin. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track and get this Grand Prix underway. Not just victory today then, but the championship as well. What a spectacular season they've had. Congratulations to the whole team. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, I think it was clear what the main contributing factor out on the track was today: speed. I know it sounds like an obvious thing to say, Crofty, but fast cars win races, and we saw that today with our winner.
Alfa Romeo have been winning fans the world over with their brilliant driving, showing that they're a force to be reckoned with out there on the track. They'll certainly be building on that fan base after today's excellent result.